Hey, amazing. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for attending this event this afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the 10th year of Do It in Durham Entrepreneurship Week. Durham Region's celebration of entrepreneurship is held every November during Global Entrepreneurship Week. It's the week where it's a collaboration of Durham Region's business support, educational and networking organizations who have come together to encourage and support entrepreneurs, job creators, innovators, and those who create economic growth in Durham region. If you're looking to start a business, invest in a business, grow a business, we encourage you to do it in Durham region. So with that, I just want to say thank you again. And for those of you who might not be aware, we do have a kickoff event happening tonight at a local brewery called Town Brewery. It's from 5 till 7, I believe. So if you are looking to do some in-person networking this week, want to meet some of the speakers or meet and connect with local business owners, definitely recommend attending that event tonight. Again, that's at the Town Brewery in Whitby. So I will hand it over to Emily now.
Thank you so much, Ashley. I'm really excited to be with you all today. And my presentation or workshop is called Navigating the Ups and Downs of Entrepreneurship with More Energy and Ease. And my name is Emily Kristofferson. Now, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, your day might look like this. This is an image that was created by another entrepreneur, Derek Halpern, and it's the visual of a day in life as an entrepreneur. You might be able to relate. So you might start your day, you're really excited, and then you run into a roadblock and say, oh, this is so hard. Then it's working. Oh, I messed up. Give up the good for the great. I think I'm going to go bankrupt. I'm good. I don't know why I get so down on myself. I was wrong. I suck. Wait a minute. My life is great. Maybe you have experienced this, maybe in a day, even in an hour. So my workshop today is really to help you get through this journey with more energy and more ease. Many entrepreneurs have some guilt and they don't want to admit that they don't have enough energy to get through the day. We live in a time where many of us are wanting more energy, and we have some interesting beliefs about energy that we'll be exploring today that may or may not be helpful. Does this sound like you? Have you ever heard yourself say, I feel so worn out. I just want more energy, or I don't have enough energy. I'm exhausted. I feel tired all the time. I feel drained. I used to be able to do X, Y, Z. I get tired when. I just want to have my energy back. I don't have enough time, or I'm feeling burnt out. Before we get started, I want to make sure that we're on the same page, and I do definitely want this to be interactive, so please feel free to share in the chat. I want to make sure that we're all talking about the same thing when we talk about low energy. So I'd love to hear for you in terms of your experience of energy. What does it mean when you have a day where you have low energy? What does that look like? What does that feel like? I'd love for you to share in the chat if you're up for it. I'll just put the chat open. So if you want to share, that would be great. So no motivation, no drive, unmotivated. Good, that's a common theme. So what is causing this problem of low energy and how do we fix it? That's what we're going to look at today. Darlene shared tired and unfocused. So everyone has a different definition of energy. Energy is really hard to define. We don't see it, and scientifically, it's really hard to determine where our human energy comes from. When I'm talking about lack of energy, what I'm talking about, I'll use the word fatigue. And for me, it's really the experience of not having enough energy to do what it is that you really want to do. Or if you've ever had the experience where you have done something and you're just tired, you're almost too tired to enjoy it, that might be the same experience. So it's really a personal thing in terms of the experience that you have with energy. So Jason also shared no zeal to do anything. Many entrepreneurs are moving at high speed and they're afraid to slow down. We're stressed. There may be an absence of rest and you're afraid to be tired. That was certainly me. Maybe you have an empty pursuit. So you're very driven, but you're not really clear on why. This might look like if a client comes to me and they say something like, I have this goal to make a certain amount of money. But when I ask them, about it, they don't really have a clear why. It's not anchored. Or entrepreneurs are obviously worried about the future. They're concerned about financial security, and no wonder we're tired as a result. So what do? Do we address low energy by removing things that drain our energy? Or instead, do we address low energy by adding things that might increase our energy? What are the best ways to have more energy? In today's workshop, you'll be discovering what supports your unique experience of energy, what detracts from it or drains, how to tap into your sources of energy, how to overcome the biggest objection to practicing self-care, which is really what this is all about. And then we'll be looking at practical ways to design an ideal work week so that you can reach your goals with greater ease. So what's possible when you explore energy and ease? Well, I know from working with clients and my own experience that you can create more energy, or you can better manage the energy that you do have. You can create faster results without pushing or forcing things to happen. You can focus on what's most meaningful to you. You'll experience more joy in your business. You can be in the right headspace for creativity, decision-making, and business growth. You can incorporate sustainability into your business. You can definitely over-deliver with a fuller cup, which leads to a better client experience and overall better business relationships. You'll also be able to expand your thinking, so thinking big picture in terms of what you would be creating with your legacy. So before we get too far into the workshop, I know when I'm listening to someone, I like to know a little bit about them and why I should be listening to them. So I'd love to share a little bit about myself. As I stated, my name is Emily, and I've actually been an entrepreneur for over 10 years now. I'm a recovering workaholic. I used to work for the school board, and before that, I was a regional business manager. And when I left the school board to start my own business, I really had a transition period of about a year where I was cutting back my work and doing more in my business. So I know what that's like to marry the two and have it work. And what I've done over the last 10 years is really provide business management, project management, and strategy support. So I support my clients with making the best decisions in their business, deciding on strategy, and really ensuring nothing falls through cracks. But what I noticed is that my clients still need to have the energy to show up for their own clients and also to grow their business. So I started my business really to be an example for my son. This is my son Emerson, and this was around the time that I started my business. And today is actually his 16th birthday. So we have a lot to celebrate today. I see in the chat, Cynthia has a question. Will there be a replay? Yes, this is being recorded. So this is at the top of the screen is actually my first banner from my first website. It's something I did during March break while I was off from the school board. And this is a client who actually we have celebrated 10 years together last month. She's my longest client. I really enjoy working with her. Her name's Andrea Owen, and she's an author, a life coach, a speaker. And she says, I attribute much of the success I've had with my business to Emily. She not only organizes all the moving parts and does it error-free with ease, but she sees my blind spots and gives me some much needed advice when I need it and executes projects with accuracy and professionalism. I never start a new project without asking her if it's a smart move. A little bit more about me. I mentioned I'm a recovering workaholic. I love my work. And over the 10 years, I've seen a lot. I've poured myself into my clients, helping them to create incredible results. And what I've also seen is that it's very possible to sink into burnout, to abandon your physical health, to just forget about the life that happens outside of business or outside of the computer screen. And this was something that was on my office wall for the longest time, and I've taken down. And it's really a meaning of my name. And I always laugh because the meaning of my name is ambitious and industrious, and I certainly have lived up to that. But in working for myself and working with my clients, I also have seen that, myself, I struggle with adrenal fatigue, exhaustion, burnout, and lots of issues. So I continue to support my clients with strategy and purposeful planning, but I've also incorporated some of what we're learning today around energy management because I know how easy it is to burn out or even consider burning your business to the ground, and we don't want that. So I've gone on my own healing journey. I went to the Institute for Integrated Nutrition, and last year I graduated from IPE as a certified mind-body eating coach. I also have worked with a naturopath to heal my adrenal issues, and also have dove into yoga and go to a local studio here. The other thing I did was I got a dog, and I not only got one, but I adopted two. And so last year, the bottom little Cocker Spaniel, her name is Jessie. Her owner had died. And so I found out about this through another mom in a local Facebook group. And she's joined our family and brought lots of joy. And I share lots of lessons from my dogs because they're really the ones who have helped me, push me to get outside, gently move my body, things that I wasn't necessarily doing while I was in my hardcore workaholic state. So this is a quote I love. It's self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you, which is what we'll be talking about today. So energy management. We've been looking for energy all wrong. A lot of times what we're searching for is one cause or one cure to help with our fatigue. And it's really similar to how sometimes we can show up as entrepreneurs in our business when we're looking for that one thing that we believe is going to change everything. But if you've been in business long enough, you probably know that that's not the case. It's just not how it works. Same thing with having more energy. So when you're looking for more energy, it can easily lead you astray. It can be costly, frustrating, time-consuming, and perhaps most importantly, it can actually give you more fatigue. The secret to energy management is really managing the energy that you do have, however little, however much that is, and noticing how you drain it. So really coming back to the intentionality. If you don't already know how to manage your energy, if I give you more energy, it's not going to make the situation better. So if you need more energy and you're on the fourth cup of coffee, that's not exactly a solution for what we're talking about today. The truth is that energy and fatigue levels are likely a result of many factors, and to find more energy, it all starts with awareness. So it's looking for clues. It takes time, patience, respecting the journey, and often going on that journey is the cure. It was for me, and I went on it with a lot of resistance. So my approach at first was just, I'll do the resting, I'll take care of myself so that I could get back to where I was. And what I realized on my journey is that there really was no getting back. It was finding a new way of working. If we learn how to effectively manage the energy we do have, having more energy becomes possible. But before that, what we have to do is stop fighting. So fighting the fatigue, resisting it, and overriding it. I saw that my fatigue was something that was getting in the way. It was almost like it was holding me back, and I got very frustrated by it. But what happened is when I was able to shift my mindset around fatigue and actually see it as a gift, that's when everything started to change. So possibly your fatigue or low energy is asking you to listen. It's getting your attention. It's asking you to be present in your own life. It might ask you to rest. It can change our business direction and our focus. It can certainly change our business model. It wakes us up. It asks us to evaluate our life. It asks us to get curious. It can humble us. It asks us to slow down, makes us wiser, and it can also encourage us to find deeper purpose and meaning. Many of us are just tired. We just need more rest. We have to slow down. And I know from my own experience in working with clients that this rest time can bring up a lot for us. It might bring up fears, challenges, disappointments. You might have thoughts around money. So how could I take a break, or how could I incorporate more rest into my day, but still make the same amount of money? Security, self-worth, lack of purpose, trust, and much more. But obviously, having energy is critical to our business success. The answer, I know for sure, is not working more and more or harder and harder. Okay, here's the action step for you. I want you to consider having what I call a purposeful pause in your workday. Having a purposeful pause can be a simple but very powerful strategy. And a purposeful pause is really just one or two pauses during your workday with 15 to 20 minutes of rest and or relaxed downtime. This is a picture from a couple of years ago. I always would have a rest in the afternoon with my cat, and he would join me. He would crawl on top of me, and it was the special kind of bonding time. And I loved that and really made it part of it. So your purposeful pause doesn't have to look the same. It could be a vacation. So I know when I started working with the naturopath, I hadn't had a vacation for a long time, and I've really changed. I'm looking forward to 2 weeks vacation now in December, and I have regular vacation. I look at it and say, I need 1 week every quarter at a minimum, and I need 1 full day every week off. So it could be vacation time or non-work time. It could be reflection time, meditation time, quiet time, nourishment time. And you really can use this time to listen for those lessons or those gifts from your fatigue. So you're not fighting it or resisting, you're letting go of that fight and actually embracing this time. So I want to give you an alternative. If you don't like the idea or it just doesn't work for you to have the purposeful pauses in your workday, one of the first exercises that I did was based on a book called 24/6. And it advocates for unplugging for a full day. So I would unplug from Friday around 5 or 6, and then I would be offline completely with no screens at all for a full 24 hours, so until Saturday at 5 or 6. And this really gave me space to think and feel. And I started doing yoga in the morning and would kind of come home and have a rest in the afternoon. And it was just a really beautiful experience of really taking a pause from business and life. So I wanted to give you that idea as an alternative as well. So what would actually help you to pause during the day? I know it's so easy to either think that it's too simplistic for you or that you're too busy. But here's some suggestions, because it's really about actually doing it. As an entrepreneur, it's really easy to take in information and not act on it, but our results really come from what it is that we implement. So I wanted to give you some ideas on how to actually do this. So one is adding it to your calendar. So having that sacred spot, almost like, let's say, if you had a client appointment, treating it as such, having a reward system, partnering with the accountability buddy, shifting to see self-care as business care, being clear on why you're doing this. So knowing the why behind any strategy helps you. It doesn't have to be resting. So I have some suggestions. It could be sitting in the sun, which is one of my favorites when the temperature is a little bit warmer. Being in nature, sitting quietly while doing breathing exercises, practicing restorative yoga, listening to your favorite music, or even enjoying a cup of tea during your pause. So when it comes to managing the energy you do have, what I want you to see is energy as a valuable resource. And I love to compare energy as a resource to how we view our time or our money. So energy is a lot like money. If you're, have your business, then you know how important it is to be aware of what's happening with your money. Same thing with your energy. So we have some of it, we use it, we want more, but we either have to earn it or we have to find a way to spend less. And that's what I want to be looking at today. So we're constantly impacting our energy in little and not so little ways. I want you to think about what gives you energy or what enhances your experience of energy. And what I want you to do, so I'd love for you to take about 5 minutes and make a list of everything that gives you energy. So you can either pull up your favorite notebook, or you can open a Google Doc and think about the people that you spend time with, the places that you are, things, thoughts, feelings, even foods and supplements or experience that give you energy. So I'd love for you just to do a brain dump and not censor yourself or think too much. And we can pause the recording. I want to give you about 5 minutes to make as complete a list as you can in that time. And okay, so now you have your list, and this may be a complete list, but you also may want to come back to it as you go along your week. And if there's anything that you see that you notice, then you can always add to it. Okay, so now that you have your list, what I'd love for you to do is take a look at it and think about what you could do more of. So maybe you came and you saw one of the things on your list. So I know one of the things on my list is to go and be near water. And I know that when I was doing this exercise, I wanted to spend more time at the Whippy waterfront. And I would say to myself, oh, I don't have the time. Or in the morning, I'd have to drive there and I would bring the dogs. And it just felt like this whole big ordeal. But it was something I really wanted to do more of. The feeling that it gave me definitely was a feeling of more energy, but also clarity and focus. And I really feel like there's something powerful and even possibly magical about spending time in nature. So I know for that, for this exercise, is that's something that I wanted to do more of. And so I'd love for you to look and see, okay, what is something that you could do more of? Maybe there's something that you can actually circle and decide that you could do it on a regular basis. Can you schedule in your energy enhancers? It doesn't have to be in the morning. It doesn't have to be movement. It doesn't have to be nature. Or is there any possible way you could get more support so that you could have more of your energy enhancers involved, actually doing them in your life? One interesting note that I have here is that many times what gives us energy can actually be something that drains our energy if we do them too much or too often or don't set a reasonable limit for ourselves. So you might say, okay, well, I just love, I know a break and I would love to take a month off, or, maybe that's not realistic. Or even maybe you'll kind of go squirrely after taking a break for that long. So really thinking about it in terms of awareness and what would be right for you. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is look at your list and I want you to take it a step further. And I want you to consider why these energy enhancers matter to you. Asking why helps you to be clear, and it really connects them to the desire that you have to either enhance or better manage your energy with intention. So it could be, going back to my example of going to the water, it really is the way that it makes me feel. So that would be my why, is I love the way that it makes me feel. Now, what I'd love to do is help you get some ideas from others and really make this interactive. So we're going to break out into rooms. And what I'd love for you to do is we're going to group you into about 3 or 4 and go around in your breakout room and share 1 or 2 of your energy enhancers that you want to incorporate more. And I'd love for you to share the why. And maybe you will get an idea from someone else of something that might give you energy that you haven't actually thought about before. So just taking a few minutes to share who you are, what your business is, 1 or 2 of your energy enhancers, and then really sharing the why of why that is important or why it matters to you. So let's see.
I'm just gonna pause it now.
Okay. I believe everyone should be back in our main room. So hopefully you got some ideas or you were able to ground down on your why of why a couple of your energy enhancers are important to you. So let's keep going. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to look at the reverse and I want you to make a list of everything that drains your energy. So maybe already you have some ideas in terms of, it's really easy to think about what can enhance your energy, but maybe in that practice, you decided, okay, there's some things that drain your energy. So it could be people, places, things, thoughts, feelings, beliefs, food, supplements, and experiences again. I know I will share one of the things that I realized over time was that there was a certain client that when I saw her name pop up on my calendar or when I saw, let's say, messages from her, I could almost feel my energy start to drain. And so that is, that's something that I paid attention to and got curious about. And so that was something, every time I would have my meeting with her on a Tuesday, then I would feel a certain way and feel like, okay, I want to go have a nap. And that was one example for me. So hopefully that gives you some ideas, but I want you to just take just a few minutes again and make a comprehensive list, or as comprehensive as you can. And we don't need as much time for this, I believe. So hopefully these come to you. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I believe it's looks like 3:09. So let's say 3:12, and we'll come back and start discussing our energy drains. So I'd love for you to share in the comments below or in the comments, what would be the biggest objection, either that you have or that you've come across in terms of practicing self-care for yourself. Let me just pull up the chat so that I can see. Okay, no time. Perfect. That's a common one. Anyone else? Yeah, same, no time. Guilt. Interesting. Anyone else? Time. Yeah, so really common. Time. Okay, good. So this is really to illustrate, the objection is usually time or it's money. So we think that, practicing self-care or even taking time off for ourselves to, have a life or, look after our health, we can easily say that, we don't have time or it's going to be too costly. And if you're in any form of sales, you know that these are also the most common objections in terms of, business and making investments and making decisions as well. So I want to really break these down for you. So what do you think of when you hear the word self-care? What does it mean to you? So I know in the description for the workshop, one of the pieces that I wanted to say was, we want to go beyond the bubble bath. So a lot of times I think that people think self-care is bubble bath, or maybe it's getting a manicure or a pedicure. And I know for me, self-care is definitely not getting a manicure or pedicure. I can't stand them. It's just something that needs to be done. So I love this. Jason shared taking time for yourself. Jill, putting me first. Jason, massage. Good. Okay. So what I want you to see and make this shift is that anytime you're investing in your own self-care is actually time that you're investing in your business. So as the CEO of your business, you are your greatest asset. And I know when I made this shift, a lot changed in my business. So anytime that I was spending either in the purposeful pauses, taking rest, taking time, so having a vacation, all of that, the way that I looked at it was, this is time that I'm working on myself, but in turn, this is actually time that I am working on my business. And so for me, I had this whole, I guess, convoluted relationship with productivity. And you may feel the same. I know as a business owner, the list is endless, and it can be really hard to do. So what I think of when I think of self-care is it's really giving myself what I need in that moment. So my self-care will change from moment to moment. It will definitely change from day to day. And for me, it's all about getting out of the stress response and into a relaxation response. Now, I know that when you're an entrepreneur, there's lots of stress and you can actually use stress to your benefit. But the piece is that you don't want to be in stress day after day after day. So when I experienced burnout myself, that was ultimately the reason why, is that I was in this stress state day after day after day after day. And that is not optimal for business growth. It's not optimal for creativity, and it's certainly not optimal for decision-making, all which are very big pieces of responsibility when you're an entrepreneur and the boss of your own business. And the other piece of it too is that stress is the main driver of chronic disease. This is from Dr. Mark Hyman, who has a popular podcast and has written many books. And I love his work. He stated, experts have long known that a relationship between stress, blood sugar, and belly fat. In the face of chronic stress, insulin increases. This drives the relentless metabolic dysfunction that leads to weight gain, insulin resistance, and ultimately diabetes. When you're stressed, your adrenal glands release hormones like adrenaline and cortisol that flood your system, raising your heart rate, increasing your blood pressure, making your blood more likely to clot, damaging your brain's memory center, increasing belly fat storage, and generally wreaking havoc on your body. And the reason why I love this quote from him is really diabetes runs in my family. My mom has diabetes. And so this is very important to me in terms of health too and stress management. Okay, I love this. Matthew, 100% agree on self-care is business care. 60 minutes at the gym each day provides far more benefit than working for an additional 60 minutes. I love that. I have to say that to myself as well. So at first I was really resistant to moving my body, but now it is a piece where I use it to deal with emotions. I just use it to come back to myself. So many benefits. And I'll show you what that looks like in my calendar and time and all that too. Okay, so some of the work that I do with my clients is around planning. I love planning. And really what we're trying to do is take the client out of being reactive and into being proactive. So looking at our time, our energy, and our money all as assets in our business. And so I had previously compared energy and money. We would set up, with money, we set up a plan or a budget on how we want to use this asset. And I want you to do the same thing. So we're going to actually design an ideal work week, and we're going to be using our time and our energy as a way of designing this. So I want to give you an overview in terms of what the steps are. And I also want to show you a couple ideal work weeks, mine and a client of mine, and give you some practical examples. So the first step is that you want to decide on your work hours. Now, this to me was really big because I would just basically roll out of bed and get my son and everyone ready. And then I would start working. I would become a mom when my son came home, and then I would work until I could hardly see on the computer screen. And so one of the first things I did was just pre-decide every day what time I'm going to start and what time I'm going to end. So this fluctuated depending on the day, depending on how much I needed, but I was really just working on that self-trust piece of saying, okay, today I'm going to be finished at 2 p.m. Some days I'm going to be finished at 8 p.m. And so what I want you to do is ultimately be really realistic about how many hours you have available to work each week. It's great to say, I want to work 20 hours, or I'm willing to work 60 hours, whatever it may be for you. All of us are in different places, but just being really realistic about how much time you actually have available. So one of the exercises I love to do with clients is, how much time do you actually have available to work with clients? And looking at that and then seeing what actually makes sense. Parkinson's law is work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion, and I've definitely had that. This is almost the phenomenon of all of a sudden you can get so much done and you feel really focused before you have a vacation. So it's kind of creating that for yourself within the boundaries of these work hours. Step 2 is I'd love to encourage you to decide on a theme for each day of your work week. So here are my themes. On Monday, I look at metrics from all of my clients' businesses as well as mine. I work on content creation, so something like this. This presentation would fall on a Monday. Tuesdays, I have meetings with clients. Wednesday, I use for client work. Thursday, more meetings, and I also prepare for the next week. Friday is dedicated to my business. Saturday, I take completely off. And Sunday, I use for rest and planning the week. Here's a before example from a client. So this is before we work together. Monday, she has a podcast, so she would do podcast interviews or sales and client calls. She did sales and client calls on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and she would have meetings as well on Thursdays. Friday, she did content creation in her business. On Saturday, she did chores, personal activities, business learning, and writing. Sunday, she did more content creation. So this is, again, podcast interviews. It could be writing marketing emails, working on social media, and she was working on her business. So she was essentially working every single day of the week and not taking a break. Then after we started working together, we looked at the themes. So Monday, dedicated to podcast interviews only, either preparing, reaching out for someone to be a podcast guest, conducting the actual interview, whatever needed to be done around that. Tuesday and Wednesdays were her sales and client calls. Thursday, only meetings. Friday was dedicated to content creation in her business. We made Saturday personal, and Sunday was family and friends. Now what happened is she realized quickly that she had lots of one-to-one clients, and all of those clients did not fit on Tuesday and Wednesdays. So what we did then was look at her business model and say, okay, could we form a signature program that has something like a hybrid, some individual calls and some group calls? So the after, or part 2 of her themes, was Monday, still podcast interviews and content creation. Tuesday, Wednesday, still sticking with sales and client calls. Thursday was meetings and her business. Friday, personal or catching up on work. Saturday is personal. Sunday, friends and family. The other thing we incorporated is that she takes the last full week of each month off. Now, that's not off entirely. Sometimes it is. So, for example, I know in November, she's in the US, so it actually works out so that it is the same week as Thanksgiving. So she will be completely off that week. But the key point is that there's no appointments. So if she has anything like a bigger project that she wants to work on, that goes in that week. Or let's say there's personal appointments that she hasn't gotten to, that those again go into that week. So you can see how eventually over time she has themes and better controls when she works and when she doesn't. Step 3. So step 3 is really planning out your self-care time. So we talked about self-care as business care, and it's not, I want to work all the time or I need more energy to work. It's when are you actually going to put in or block off time for your energy enhancers, and what are your pauses going to look like? So again, they could be the 1 to 2 pauses every single workday, or it could be something more like the 24/6, where you're having dedicated time where you're not doing your business. You're not thinking about your business, talking about your business, working on your business, working in your business. So I want to give you a couple examples of what this could look like. So I'm going to pull up, this is Google Calendar. And you can see right here on my left-hand side, this is my ideal work week, and it's somewhat color-coded. So I have themes on each day. I have times where I decide to work or not work. And if I want to work, if I'm feeling really inspired, I'll continue to work, and that's okay. But I don't let that happen every single day. So on Mondays, for example, earlier today, I looked at metrics and I did some client work. Today, I did not practice yoga, but I usually do on Mondays. And then I have a lunch, a rest, and content creation time. Client calls on Tuesdays, client work on Wednesdays, more client calls on Thursdays, so only Thursday afternoon, and then Friday really is for my business. So you can see too that I have time blocked off for self-care. So I always have time blocked off for lunch and a rest. Now that changes week to week or day to day. I also have rest on Saturday, and I also have rest on Sunday. The other thing you'll see is that I have yoga. Now, I don't do yoga all of these blocks, but that's when yoga classes are available. And so I want to have them on my calendar almost as a reminder. And I will go through and I will schedule out the classes that I'm going to attend for the next week when I'm looking ahead at my week on Fridays. So that's one example. Now, here's another example of a client of mine. And hers looks quite different because her business is quite different. Her energy is also quite different. So this client actually has Hashimoto's, and it causes her to not have the energy that she would love. And we really have to work around that and really be smart about how she spends her time and what that looks like either in a day or over the course of a week. So you can see on Mondays, she checks in with clients, and then she uses the rest of Monday for content creation. So that's emails, posts. She does a Facebook Live every Tuesday. And so she's doing what she needs to do for that week. On Tuesday, she has calls. So these are sales or connection calls. She does not have calls with clients. She just does client work. So she has time on Wednesday and Thursday for client work. She does her guest pitching for getting herself on other podcasts on Thursday afternoon. And then her Friday is pretty much open. She can use that for training. She does a check-in every week with me, which is part of the CEO check-in, and then she can have the rest of the day off. So hers looks really different, and a lot of this was trial and error. The other piece is that within her week, she has more energy on Monday, so that's really when she wanted to do the content creation. So she wanted to look after her business first, and then get into her week with clients. Okay, so that was step 3, is planning out your week, planning in when you're going to have self-care time, and incorporating your energy enhancers. Step 4 is that you're using your ideal work week as a decision-making tool. So what I do is I pull up my ideal work week whenever I'm scheduling or adding new items to my calendar. The other thing I'll see the clients do is, I had a client who did this actually last week. She said, I am not going to have any appointments for any reason on Mondays. I'm going to use that time for social media for the week, writing emails for the week, and anything else I need to work on. And I encouraged her to share it with her team to help them know when she's working and not working, or when she's available for appointments or not available, and also asking them to hold her accountable. So reminding her if she ever was to say that she was willing to do that. You can also share with your family just so that they know when you're working or not available. Step 5 is, every so often you want to reevaluate your ideal work week. So I do this every 90 days to see really what's working, what's not working, and adjust as needed. It's not meant to make you miserable. It's not something that you want to use to beat yourself up. It's really just a practice. It's a work in progress. So over the 90 days, you're going to say, okay, what do I need to be doing? What is most important, or what are my goals, and how can I incorporate those into my work week for this next 90-day period? So what we're looking for through this exercise is, we're looking for repeated acts of intention. So really coming back to intentionally using our energy, finding your focus, respecting your energy, and providing time for self-care as business care. So that was deciding on your work hours, deciding on the theme for each day, planning out your self-care time, using your ideal work week as a decision-making tool, and then going back and reevaluating and adjusting as needed. So now it's your turn. I want you to do the same exercise, and you can either do it on a calendar. So you could, just like I did, I use Google Calendar. You could set up a brand new calendar and you can play with it, or you could do it on paper and basically just make a grid. So I want you to focus on, what really you need to do, what is most important to you over the next 90 days, and be sure to incorporate what you've already learned today. So around energy enhancers and energy drains. And I wanted to share this quote with you. I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called The Big Leap, and it's part of a entrepreneurial book club that I'm in. And really in this book, it talks about the zone of genius, only what you can do. It's really easy to get trapped in some of these other zones, like zone of competence or zone of excellence. So thinking what you really need and really what makes sense for you. A strength is more than something you're good at. It's something you enjoy doing as well. So I want you to think about that as you do this exercise. And I'm only going to give you, let's say, another 5 minutes for you to do this. And then we'll come back and share what your biggest takeaways are. And I'll have some points for you that you may or may not have considered. And as you're doing this too, I'm available in the chat. So if there are any questions, or if you're feeling like you need any support, I am here for you. So let's, right now it's 3:35. And so we'll come back at 3:40 and discuss together. So I have some questions for you. I'd love to hear if you want to share in the chat how that was for you. But I have some questions as you're doing this. So again, it is a work in progress. I don't expect that you're going to finish it within the 5 minutes. I know for me, when I did this exercise, what I quickly realized is that I'm trying to do too much all in one week, and it was impossible to have rest and self-care and also everything that I need to do in my business. So I actually had to pare down and really think about what made the most sense in terms of my marketing. How could I prioritize? What was the most important? How could I be sure that my clients get the best service? That's always top of mind. So as you're looking at your week, would you rather, are you the type of person who would rather get the tough stuff done at the beginning of the week because it's off your plate? Almost like the example of the one client who really likes to be creative and use her energy in that way, and then she moves through the rest of the week. Or would you work better being lit up by something you really love doing and you want to save it to the end of the week? Thinking about how you work best, not how you think you should work. So that can look differently. Sometimes I actually have a client who works almost 2 shifts in a day. So she works from about 9 to 1, and then she takes off a couple hours and she works about 3 to 5. So that's what her ideal work week looks like. I know for me, I never have calls before 10. I'm not a morning person. And I use that time in the morning for myself and also my own business to do some odds and ends before I actually get started. So I use that as part of my work. How do you want to feel at the end of your week or at the end of your day? What are the most essential areas in your business that you need to be in? What's most important? So ask the question of what are your goals over the next 90 days? The other piece too is when I'm working with someone on a project, I like to ask them what else they have, what other commitments do they have, or what other projects do they have on the go, because that can really factor into how much time they have available to work on the project that we're working together. So that might be a factor as well. Okay, now as you were doing this exercise, perhaps you had resistance come up. So I know that lots of the women and men who I work with, they really like freedom. That's a big value of why they started their business in the first place. And I know that it can seem somewhat counterintuitive to have a work week schedule like this, but I want to assure you that structure provides you with freedom and it takes a lot of the decision making. So that's something that was tiring me, is that kind of flip flop or always making the decision over and over and over. And now what I'm able to do is I look at my week and I say, okay, I know what it is that I need to do during this time. I know where I need to focus and what is most important. And I trust those actions are going to take me to the goals that I've set. And instead of redeciding over and over, I trust that decision that I had made. And it really takes a lot of the mental and emotional energy that is involved in being an entrepreneur and making all those decisions out of the day to day. So I'd love for you to share in the chat, what was your biggest takeaway? Or maybe you didn't have necessarily a big takeaway. Maybe you were able to see something in a new or different way. I'd love for you to share with me in the chat. I'll just pull it up. So Jill shared, yes, the beginning of the week. That's her preference. I know the biggest thing for me is just pairing things together. So if there's something that is going to enhance my energy, then I'll pair it with something that could possibly drain my energy. So that's something that I realized. Okay, there's scheduling the task by workday or week. Another thing too that made a big difference that I mentioned was deciding on my work hours. That changed a lot too. And I know for one of my clients, she adopted that as well. The other thing I've helped a couple clients do is make a list of what they could do during their low energy days or their high energy days. I'm not saying that you always need to be working, but that can definitely be helpful if you're not, in it. Here's a list of things that you could do that would still move your business forward, but don't take as much, like, let's say, creative energy. So that's something that's really been useful. Yeah, so Brian shared scheduling a stop time and sticking to it. That could be as simple as putting an alarm in on your phone. Anyone else? Feel free to share in the comments. So here's some aspects that you may not have thought of while you were working on your ideal work week. So the first is having a nourishing evening routine that includes winding down before bed. So one of the issues that I've struggled with was sleep. Over time, it became incredibly hard to go to sleep, or I would wake up much earlier than I wanted to. And I worked with a sleep coach for a period of time, and we did a program together. I did her program, and really a core piece of it was deciding what time was going to be my bedtime and then working backwards. So 2 hours before that, everything that I enjoy, so essential oils or lighting a candle, dimming lights, reading, incorporating all of those things that you may have let go of, really can make a big difference. So to me, sleep obviously is setting you up for a much better day the next day. And so taking that time to make sure that you're winding down. The other is conscious time for the eating experience. So lots of times the speed of eating and the speed of life are reflective of each other. And I've heard so many times that someone will, not eat until they're, starving and shaking later in the afternoon, or they'll stand over the kitchen sink, or they'll stand over the counter and just pull something out of the fridge. But it's really taking the time to nourish and feed yourself in that way, which will help you have a more productive day. Then also realizing that to perform at a high level, you need support both inside and outside of your business. And that's a really big piece. So when I did my ideal work week and it wouldn't fit in, that's where I started to see, okay, I'm going to need some support, or I'm going to have to let go of some things and really figure out what is most important. So hopefully this exercise has shown you what is most important in terms of your self-care, what is important in terms of your work week, and you're able to either identify what are your self-care or business care non-negotiables, or what else can you be adding in. So I know how easy it is to listen, have the best intention of taking action from what you learned today. Perhaps the wisdom of life is asking you to take those purposeful pauses, to slow down, to rest. It can start with 1 to 2 pauses of 15 minutes each day. We also looked at what enhances your experience of energy and what could be draining your energy, and some tips around managing both. And we looked at starting to design your ideal work week that allows for both business, so self-care, leaning more into your strengths while respecting your energy levels. But what if it was true that you actually already have the energy you need? What would be possible for you if you incorporated more of the energy enhancers into your day and spent less energy on those things that drain you? What would be possible for your business? I want to offer you a free resource. It's called the Entrepreneur's Energy Audit, and it takes what we have learned today a step further. It's really about discovering your unique energy levers over the period of 7 days, so that you can make more money, wow your clients, and fall back in love with your business. You can sign up for it at my website, which is emilykristofferson.com. And this is for you if you're feeling overwhelmed and overworked in your business. It's really about more awareness, which is what we touched on today. And so you can sign up here at emilykristofferson.com. If there are any questions or anything you need support around, please let me know in the chat. I'm happy to answer questions if any came up for you. If you want to, you can even unmute yourself, and I'll stay for the next 10 minutes if there's any questions or anything anyone needs.